Welcome in. We're the Meltdown here with yet another 2024 movie review. This time it is for the blockbuster Wicked. This is most known for its Broadway stage production. It is now a feature film, and we saw part one of Wicked in this saga last night. We're here to talk about it. I am Tim Melton. Joining me in studio is Tyler Johns, E.G., and Ryan Pavlick here with us. We appreciate all of the munchkins that have made up this review, and that's probably my first complaint I'm going to get to with the new Wicked movie. All the munchkins are too damn tall. That's my first
Well,
complaint.
the original Wizard of Oz ran into some controversy with the Munchkins.
I
So,
Yeah,
understand
but
so
you
that.
can
that's why
find because what's his name? Bach.
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 Oh yeah, Bach was real tall.
He was way too
lanky.
tall, and like when he would, try and like make himself taller with like using his
Yeah.
little cane or using the books, I was like, you're not
I,
short.
I feel like I could have played a munchkin in this movie with how the size of the munchkins.
I mean,
Ariana Grande was probably the
she was small.
smallest,
Yeah,
tiniest person I've ever seen on screen, actually. She looked like Tinkerbell, to be
she was
honest.
so tiny. And now that you say that, compared to the Munchkins, she looked more Munchkin-y.
Let's talk
She
about
did.
Ariana Grande and her performance because I thought it was the highlight of the movie. I thought she absolutely stole the production
Yes.
when it comes to every time she was on screen. I thought it was electric what she provided. Her comic chops were there, her singing was there. Her performance, I think, if there's something the Academy's going to be looking at, it's potentially Ariana Grande.
Yes, I would agree. I think that was my favorite part of the film was any, Galinda scene was perfect to me. I loved the over exaggeration of things, and that was how it was on Broadway. Like the hair flips and all of that. I love that. And I do feel like as I was living thinking about it, I'm the most attached to that character. I already kind of was, but I'm really impressed with how well she played it.
Pavlik, what was the standout for you acting wise in your experience with Wicked Part 1 as we were introduced on the title card, with that being the actual name that they ended up dropping in the marketing so that way
Right.
people would actually show up to see this?
15 minutes in, we got that title card. I mean, it was long, and then all of a sudden, Wicked Part 1. Wow, okay. I think it is Ariana Grande. Honestly, I said this to you guys off camera, but the first hour kind of was slow. It was developing, and I get it. It has to start the story somewhere. And actually, when it comes to Ariana Grande, I was just trying to adjust to, wow, does she not look good? Is it too pale, or what is going on with her?
Yeah.
But then once she did Popular, that
Mm.
stole the show for me to that point, and then her character took off. But that first hour of her was too over the top when it came to costume and look, and it just, I don't know.
My biggest complaint with the movie is visually, I don't like hardly anything about it, including the costume design, including Ariana Grande's paleness,
She's too
including
pale.
way too pale, in my
Yeah, it's
opinion.
sickly
The,
almost.
yeah, the hair blended in with her skin.
Yeah, there were times where I thought Elphaba is like she's getting mocked for the way she looks, and I'm like, she looks way more normal than
Yeah.
Ariana Grande.
So you're
a
saying
lot of
this
the time.
movie could have been a podcast?
I don't think that would have worked. We saw it in 3D as well, which
I did not.
It didn't add
I
any.
hate
The
that.
poppies floating at you?
I
That was probably the only thing.
it's such a ripoff. 3D is such a ripoff. It's the only way we could see it, which is why we went and saw it that way. It's the only
Yeah.
format it was being presented in. But this movie, I already visually don't like it, and then the 3D aspect where it's not enhanced, where it's not crisp, it's like muted. Everything's a little bit more
Yeah.
muted. So I didn't like that. Visually, it feels just too computer generated. I understand you have to do that in order to make this world that's fantastical, but it's over the top CGI for me.
Shiz did not feel. It felt like they were just in a computer.
I agree.
That was not. I was wanting that to be much more realistic feeling.
Or like
However-
Hogwarts.
Yeah.
However, music, acting, ensemble,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
casting, all really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
Tyler, you hate musicals.
Yes.
Do you hate Wicked?
So this is very technically well done, but as far as like personal enjoyment goes, I felt like the guy from Clockwork Orange with his eyes forced open, just being forced to watch the movie. It was painful for me to get through. I do think that entire opening sequence could just be chopped off.
I disagree.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no,
did
no, no.
too.
So one thing that I really dislike with prequel stories and retellings and stuff like that is the framing around someone in the present like telling you the story and
Yeah.
the entire
Well,
thing being a
Well,
flashback. I don't like
You're
that,
you're
but
gonna
that also might be ignorance for Wicked since I've never seen it.
the Edward Scissorhands storytelling technique.
Exactly.
you're gonna hate Mufasa. Okay,
Oh well, yeah, exactly, and that that's
but
my next
it's
thought. It's I'm gonna criticize Mufasa for the same thing. I
Simba.
just don't like it, even though like logically it works fine. But
this
I
is
just prefer to have an interesting beginning than the hook being a movie that was made 100 years ago.
gotcha. But it does work for you in a movie like The Princess Bride, which is sort of like the same sort of technique. But anyway, we look narratively there there is a situation with Wicked where it has to be a faithful adaptation of the Broadway play
yes.
enough to where it doesn't get turned on by its core audience.
Right.
But there are liberties taken within the story already to sort of expand more so that way, Brian, you can get two feature films out of this experience compared to one. But that leads to like one of the major complaints you had, which is tempo in the
Mhm.
first act.
So now that I think about it, I do like that it's split up in two parts because you're seeing a play on
Mhm.
the screen. Now, Deathly Hallows, we were talking about this with Harry
Yeah.
Potter. Now we're stretching into two movies because we just needed to make an eighth film for more money. But it is a show. It's almost like we're in this long intermission until the second one comes out, where you can go in the lobby and discuss, oh, did you like the first act? Oh, I can't believe that number. Oh, but wait till you see what's going to happen in act number 2 with Bach and all these guys. So I kind of like if you do a musical like this, splitting it into two parts for that reason. It's like we're in this intermission period right now where we go to the lobby and talk about it.
We have full spoilers here. If you haven't seen Wicked, maybe check it out before you watch the rest of this review because we're going to get into what I think is the biggest spoiler of the
Yeah.
movie,
Which was great.
and that is the
Awesome.
fact, e.g., you started shouting in the theater.
Yeah, basically.
Was
Um,
it you or me?
I think both.
Both.
Yeah.
I think it was Boomer, but e.g., you started yelling, "It's the old people! It's the
Yes.
old people!"
Yes.
Because it was the original
It was
Broadway
yeah,
cast that
yeah.
got brought in for a nice little cameo
Performance.
that was done in a way to honor them and their
Yes.
legacy of the
It
characters. You
felt
thought it was done well.
I thought it was done so well because truthfully coming into it, I wasn't expecting it.
I
I
had no
didn't
idea.
yeah, I didn't have a basis to expect. And then it happens and it's like, this is perfect. This is
Yep.
such a good idea. And I love the scene where they go towards who they played,
Yeah.
towards Ariana Grande. And I just thought it was so cool and nostalgic and just even seeing their relationship on screen and now this adaptation was super cool.
And for someone like Tyler, who's seeing the movie that's not a Wicked diehard, you
I
didn't know it was Adina Menzel and you didn't know it
no
was Kristen Chenoweth.
no, I thought one of them kind of looked like Sarah Jessica Parker, and so I was like, is this like a Hocus Pocus reference?
Nice.
But yeah, I've never seen Wicked,
But
the musical.
Little Mermaid live action, they had that small scene where Jodie Benson, the original voice
That's
of
cool.
Ariel, handed over the
That is
Dingle
correct.
Hopper to our new Ariel. So I enjoy cameos when they're done like that. The Muppets were the kings of cameos, by the way. You know that. But these small cameos, they have their place in the world. And like I said, it was totally unexpected. And that's what even I guess, fangirled a little bit because I was like, oh, the old people.
Yeah, I was like, there they
I
are.
don't know if I called them old people like
Yeah.
EG, but that's fine.
Yeah.
What do we make of some of the musical numbers? Obviously, we heard your take
Yeah.
on Popular. I thought The Wizard and I was done really well to sort of get you really moving as that first piece that has some sort of connection.
Yeah.
And I got chill bumps a couple of times, honestly, hearing some of the vocal performances and the ranges of where they went
Yeah.
with Cynthia Erivo doing a great job there as Elphaba hitting those perfect notes. Obviously,
She
it
did great.
ends very dramatically
Mhm.
with Defying Gravity as being the show-stopping
So good.
number.
Yeah, that's an
And
all-timer.
I guess this is the way I'll ask whether or not this movie was a success, and that is if they were offering you the chance to see Wicked Part 2 next weekend, would you immediately buy a ticket and go see it?
Yes. Because we did this with the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon review. We're waiting so long. and we were left on the cliffhanger of they're going to go to battle, and now we have to wait forever for that battle. I don't drag it out. If you've already filmed it, let's release it. I guess maybe in the summer
Well, no,
or something.
no, that's already been announced.
Yeah,
The
its
next
release
one's
is
gonna
next year.
a year from this moment right here.
Okay, well, good for them. I would go see it next weekend.
You would.
Yeah, I need to see the conclusion.
I
how it's
feel
done.
like it really picked up pace in the final 30 minutes.
Yes.
And
Oh, that was a sprint.
it was there's a different energy in that final half
Mhm.
hour.
Yes, and I wish that I would have felt that more leading up to it because in my perspective, it feels like it was dragging and I was like, "Okay, like,
Yeah.
let's get," and I think I literally was like, "Okay, let's get to the point, like, come on."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like thrown at you, "Let's squeeze this in the last 30."
Mhm.
And now I actually kinda wanna keep seeing what's gonna
Yeah.
happen, but now I'm overwhelmed because like, "Whoa, we're done."
If you're looking at it, this was basically so you have a second half coming up, and we saw the first half. So really, we're looking at a 4-quarter game. The second
Yeah.
quarter, the adjustments were made, just like any football or basketball game, and all of a sudden it just took off. Again, I think it started with Popular.
Mhm.
One Short Day. That's a special place in my heart because my daughter and her theater group are actually submitting their performance of that to a national competition.
Nice.
So I have loved that song for the past 2 months, hearing it over and over. I thought they did a good job. It was the scenes in the Emerald City, they were just that song, and then we went right into Oz, who Ian Malcolm shows up as the Wizard of Oz. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, hello. He's always just a fun dude.
I did
Yeah.
like Jeff Goldblum as the wizard.
Yeah.
Not to go off of your Sarah Jessica Parker reference, but I wouldn't have minded a Matthew Broderick in that role for some reason. I just feel like
Yeah, I would have.
Well, he did like he did the
Broderick.
Music Man. He's done the producers, so he's got the Broadway tie.
you're talking about Jeff Goldblum.
Well, Matthew Broderick.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
Goldblum's done the Music Man as
Right.
well,
Oh,
which
cool.
is why
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
a little
yeah.
confused
Oh,
there.
yeah, that would have been good.
But
Yeah.
you're exactly right. Anyway, I thought Jeff Goldblum was great, but he was very much Jeff Goldblum.
He
Yes.
didn't even have to act. He probably could have shot all those scenes in one day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
they
interesting.
didn't give him any lines.
Tyler, I know this isn't your cup of tea, this type of movie, and there's a lot of other movies where you're going to have a lot more investment emotionally into what you're seeing on screen. But I guess the question I'll ask for you as someone who's in the theater sort of against their will,
Come on, Tyler.
how important is it to have a good theater going crowd in the
Yeah.
auditorium with you to really enjoy the most you can out of Wicked? Because we had a
We
very
could have gotten a
polite
bad
crowd.
It was
Yeah.
very polite.
Yeah, it was very
It's
polite.
become a big story with this movie.
Yeah, I'm very glad we got a polite crowd because as someone who was just on the fence about it, and uh, I like The Wizard of Oz fine. Don't like musicals, so I went into this one and it was nice and quiet, and that's what I liked. Uh, and that helps because you've got a diehard fan base for this musical
You do.
that will show up in costume, will start belting out in song, and that will drive away people who might want to give it a shot. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if this wasn't a musical, I think that this could be a really, really good fantasy movie. I think it's got a lot of good ingredients to really develop a complex political narrative in Oz. And
Would it have helped if they had Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd playing in the background the whole time?
that would have helped. I
Okay.
would have really enjoyed it.
Done that before. It's
Yeah,
weird.
it is very weird.
I think the soundtrack is going to be very successful for this
Yes.
film. The Broadway soundtrack obviously has already been so successful. I think that the music adaptation was the most important thing to get right.
Mhm.
And they did because it sounds like Wicked. If they had made enough creative choices to where it was off-putting because it didn't line up enough with the original, that would have been a big no-no. But I think this is a faithful adaptation
Mhm.
from a stage production that was already an adaptation of a book that was already basically an adaptation of the original, or at least was inspired by the original with the Wizard of Oz. So this dates back. This movie has history behind it. This movie has lots of different iterations behind it. This movie has a lot of obstacles that it could have hit and suffered really critically from. And I think John Chu did a wonderful job of making sure that there aren't those big misses as a part of this production. And I think they're going to see tremendous box office success with this film.
Yeah, you mentioned the soundtrack. If you know, again, Defying Gravity is an all-timer. There's no doubt about it. If you look up any Broadway hits, top 100 list, that one's on there. So it was awesome to see that song done justice. I don't know if kids and the younger generations will be singing this as much as they do Hamilton per se. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to hit that level, but you are going to hear these songs over the next 4 or 5 months of the summer as we get into part 2. I just think this movie will do a lot to uptick that. I do think the pre-Thanksgiving release helps it because I do think you're going to have an amazing first weekend going into an extended second weekend of Thanksgiving. And then if it hangs around through Christmas, how many trailers did we see last night that was opening Christmas Day, opening Christmas Day? I think Wicked hangs in there enough to even plow through Christmas
I
and get
agree.
that uptick,
Mhm.
and maybe even give Mufasa and all these other ones that are going to have their initial runs a good run as people want to come back and see it. This will be a multi-time viewing
Yeah.
experience.
I 100% agree with you there. It's I think a safe bet,
Mhm.
which by the way, if you're looking to place a bet on anything, anywhere, anytime, go visit our title sponsor. That's MyBookie at mybookie.ag. Make sure you use promo code next round for a first time deposit bonus where you can bet and play absolutely anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Don't forget about their casino gaming as well. They're at mybookie.ag. EG. This one thing that we can, I think, all agree on is that this is an experience for people.
Mhm.
It's a fun way to get out of the house, especially around the holidays where everybody seems trapped in the house. Did you get sort of that energy that this is going to deliver that big event for really all parts of the family to be able to go see?
Yes and no. I think I would go see it again. I know we were talking about that, like, this will be a multiple viewing experience. I think I would probably enjoy it more the second time around because you're consuming so much at once, and, like, we're talking about that last 30 minutes, I would like to see that again. Um, I do also think that this is gonna be one of those things, if you have grown up with Wicked, you're gonna wanna get your friends together. Whenever I've seen we literally opened Venmo because you bought the ticket, and when I opened Venmo, I saw, like, 3 or 4 different people Venmoing each other for Wicked tickets. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
So, I do think it's gonna be something that people enjoy going to. It's gonna be an event. Whether they dress up, I don't know, but I think, it will.
We're all agree.
You did, you did. I should have worn pink.
But EG brings up a good point again because of that first hour of getting adjusted to everything, and that's sadly when I was taking my most notes because what I was sitting here was how many movies am I seeing play in front of me? Like it's like the Wicked movie took your favorite scenes from so many different movies and said, "We'll put them in a blender and we'll create this movie called Wicked." So just real quickly, here's just the short notes. Uh, Ariana Grande showing up like Gandalf in the Shire when she first showed up. The lighting of the cauldron was basically your Olympic opening ceremony without Gojira. Legally Blonde. How many
Legally
times
Blonde
did we say this is Legally Blonde?
like, so often.
When they welcomed everybody, was that not Harry Potter and Dumbledore
Yes.
welcoming Hagrid as the
Yep.
new teacher of whatever? Carrie and her ability to control her powers. Tangled with Flynn Rider and Rapunzel meeting.
Oh my gosh, I
Of course,
didn't
Mean Girls, Babe, Footloose, Princess and the Frog, The Wedding Planner, The Actual Book of Mormon, Walt Disney's Epcot promotional video, Wizard of Oz, and Ray Gun breakdancing. You take all
Yeah,
that and put it into a blender, and you have Wicked
and Barbie movie.
and Barbie.
And
What is the Epcot part?
oh,
When Jeff Goldblum was talking about Oz, this is
Oh.
our prototype for Oz. Let's
Yeah.
change the roads. That was Disney going, and
Yeah.
we call it Epcot.
there's only one you missed in there. That was Planet of the Apes. There was some Planet of the Apes. in there
Some
too.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Speaking of animals, now Tyler, you mentioned your favorite character from last night was
I like the goat
the
professor.
goat. Do you know who was the goat?
No, who played him?
Did you research who it was?
Well, I knew from the voice alone. It was
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes, that's why. That's
Speaking of
I just
people
knew.
who could
I
have been
just-
the Munchkins, but whatever.
I just subconsciously knew. Well,
How about-
he's sort of pulled that step stool up behind
I
me.
was going to say, how about that for Peter Dinklage? Yes, we're finally going to do a movie where you can play your actual size and fit in. Awesome. I can be a Munchkin. You're going to be a goat.
Yeah, he's been very vocal about all of that for sure, and I think it's part of the creative decision as to why they went with the super tall Munchkins. But I think that this is a movie that is going to do rather well.
Yes.
It's going to hold rather well, and I think a lot of the performances are worthy of the hype. I just wish visually it looked a little bit different. I do think it's a movie we'll be talking about in some aspect around the Academy Awards timeframe, and we'll see what gets nominated.
Hey, as Spaceballs taught us, it's all about the merchandise. How many Shiz University shirts do you think we'll see come out? As I kept calling it Shiznit University, but whatever.
I do think there's a lot of merch that's going to be associated with the release of this
Well,
film for
some of the
sure.
early access screenings gave out Wicked Legos.
That's
Okay.
what every kid
Did you
wants.
guys see any of those? I
I
was in
didn't
a
see no
rush to the
Lego.
theater, so
I didn't see any Wicked
no.
Legos being handed out.
Mm-mm.
Okay, final grade here for our first viewing of Wicked Part 1. I'll start with you, EG. What would you give it out of 5 stars?
Out of 5, I'm gonna go 3.5.
3.5. Tyler, you went in with the lowest level of expectation. What do you walk out with your star rating?
Um, see, this is tough because my personal enjoyment of the movie is so low, like 1.5 level, but I think it's technically done at the level of a 4-star movie. So, do we average that out and say 3? Or do we just say, you know what, on a technical level, it's a 4-star movie. If you're into musicals, that's a good one. So that's been my sort of
Your sort
internal
of
debate.
internal fight.
Yeah.
You already pre-hated this movie, but you walked out appreciating the technical aspects of it. So overall, you would recommend it for people that you think would like it
Yes.
going in.
If you I think musicals, you either know you like them or you don't.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people that do like musicals, this would be a good one to go to.
Got it. Brian Pavlick out of 5, what do you give it?
It's funny confession. I had never seen Wicked before. I had never seen the play adaptation. I had never seen the books. I had just known about it. So going in, just trying to be open minded and say, I kind of know what it's about and all that. With the slow start, that hurt, but that second half is just so good. And I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan, and I think it was well done. I'm sticking with the 4 out
4
of
out of 5. All right, I'm going 3.5 out of 5. Once again, visually, I don't like hardly anything I see on screen, but I really love the performances, the casting, the music, just the overall vibe of the movie. I'm a big fan of. I just visually feel so detached from just how much they had to rely on building this world
Yeah.
with that sort of CGI element.
And I would go see it not in 3D.
Definitely. We recommend Wicked as a whole. We just don't recommend Wicked in 3D. So save your money there for sure. All right, guys. Fun discussion, fun night out for sure. We have our live show each and every day, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. We hope to see you there. For Tyler, EG, for Pavlick, I'm Tim Melton. Did you enjoy Wicked? Let us know in the comment section below.